Even when a film has been enjoyed for decades, a closer look can reveal lingering questions and clumsy plots that fans would rather ignore. They don't have to ruin a movie, and sometimes coming up with a solution can be more fun than the filmmakers ever imagined. Here are Screen Rant's 10 massive plot holes in popular movies. The Avengers. In the first Thor movie, it's established that Earth is just one realm in the larger Marvel universe, with Asgardian visitors using a rainbow bridge, also known as the Bifrost, to travel there and back. In the film's climax, Thor is left with no choice but to destroy the device. It's seen as a major sacrifice since that means he has no way to return to his new love, Jane Foster. Since the God of Thunder was obviously needed in the Avengers, his arrival was written off with just one line of dialogue.
With the Bifrost gone, how much dark energy did the All-Father have to muster to conjure you here?
Even if fans accept that magic brought Thor back, director Joss Whedon has admitted there's no explanation for how he managed to track the Avengers in midair. Wolverine. In his second solo film, Logan is brought to Japan by a wealthy businessman whose life he saved during World War II, offering to make him mortal as a thank you.
What they did to me, what I am, it can't be undone.
But Logan's permanently regenerating cells and immortality are his mutation. They weren't given to him by anyone. The plot holes and questions don't stop there. When he realizes his healing factor has suddenly been disabled, it's revealed to be the result of a robotic bug on his heart. How does it work? That's never explained. And the same can be said for how drilling into his bones could steal his healing factor and apparently his youth. The Matrix. In the post-apocalyptic world of The Matrix, Morpheus learned that it isn't just machines his crew needs to worry about. When the character Cypher realizes that the artificial reality of The Matrix wasn't so bad after all, he cuts a deal. He'll betray his commander as long as he's plugged back into the system as a wealthy actor, with no memory of the real world.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing.
The twist pushes Neo to embrace his role as the One, but it's never explained how Cypher entered The Matrix without an operator or without getting caught. Sharing a meal with an agent would be pretty hard to disguise. Minority Report. Steven Spielberg's vision of future crime relied heavily on science fiction, with a trio of psychics able to see murders before they happen, leading star Tom Cruise's team to stop them in the nick of time. That is, until he sees a murder that he will commit. Going on the run to find out why, he discovers it's all been a setup.
Who was it set this up?
The man still winds up dead, but it's never explained how the precogs saw the murder to begin with. Did the film's villain just plan to frame up and cross his fingers that they would envision his plan working out perfectly? If there's an answer, the movie doesn't include it. Interstellar. When fluctuations in gravity send Coop stumbling onto NASA's mission to save humanity, he's told that it's a trip only he can lead. So why did those planning the mission, who by the way knew Coop years beforehand, never contact him even though his farm was just a day's drive away? Even if his arrival was a lucky break, the idea that a man who needed a wormhole explained to him would be taking the wheel instead of experts who had probably planned and trained for months makes no sense at all. Star Wars: A New Hope. When Obi-Wan Kenobi first told Luke that the disbanded Old Republic had lasted for 1,000 generations, fans assumed he meant tens of thousands of years. That idea was straight up contradicted by Palpatine in Attack of the Clones. He claimed the Republic had only been around for 1 millennium. The extended universe tweaked the language to make sure both characters were right, but the gap between the original series and the prequels wasn't so easily fixed. Aside from Obi-Wan and Anakin aging several decades by the time Luke hit his teens, Imperial soldiers referred to the Force as an outdated ancient religion.
Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes.
And even Han Solo claims he's never seen any evidence of the Force. That's basically the same as grown men today doubting the existence of VCRs. Things don't quite add up. Batman Begins. The microwave emitter used to turn Gotham City into a living nightmare in Batman Begins had fans debating the science of the movie's climax from the moment it hit theaters. But the machine's ability to instantly vaporize water without injuring people is established earlier on in the film. What isn't explained is why the city wasn't driven mad by the water-based fear toxin long before the final showdown. The toxin may have been harmless in water, but the villains had spent weeks spreading it through the city, which meant boiling water, saunas, or your average hot shower should have turned Gothamites into crazed threats by the thousands. Terminator 2. Movie fans will never forget Arnold Schwarzenegger's introduction in the original Terminator, but there was good reason for him appearing naked. Kyle Reese explains that only living organisms can travel through time.
something about the field generated by a living organism. Nothing dead will go.
Or machines covered in living tissue like the T-800. But in the sequel, the T-1000 travels without any problems, even though it's made of liquid metal alloy. The writers originally intended to show a flesh cocoon the Terminator used to survive the trip, but they felt it would confuse viewers. Instead, he just appears as naked as any other time traveler, even though that wouldn't make any real difference. Guardians of the Galaxy. The cast of Guardians may have begun as criminals, but they eventually decide to sacrifice their own lives to protect the entire galaxy from destruction. The team hatches a plan to bring down the movie's villain on board his own ship, with Gamora volunteering to cut power to the impenetrable security doors so her comrades can attack. As she battles her way to the power source, the rest of the team fights through dozens of enemy soldiers on their way to the bridge. The doors open to even more enemies before Gamora blasts a hole in the floor and comes to the rescue. Since nobody asked why they didn't just blast through the floor of the impenetrable room and ambush the villain to begin with, we're guessing the fans should just ignore it. Back to the Future Part 2. Given the bond between Marty McFly and Doc Brown, it made sense that Back to the Future would end with Doc's return from the year 2015, warning Marty that his unborn children were headed for trouble. The physicist had refused to change the past in the first movie, but the future was apparently fair game. It was meant to be a simple fix, and Doc reassured Marty that he and his girlfriend Jennifer turned out fine. Except, they didn't. With Marty's music career ruined by a car accident, he wound up in a dead-end job with a failing marriage. The obvious question is, why wouldn't Doc save Marty's future? Considering all his family's troubles trace back to a single street race, he would have only had to meet Marty and Jennifer one day later to prevent his entire failed future in a single moment. He must have really hated rock and roll. So what do you think of our list? Did we miss any glaring plot holes or unresolved storylines in your favorite movies? Let us know in our comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.